Hey everyone, welcome back to Sarah's Vegan Kitchen. Today I've got 1 week's worth of easy vegan dinner ideas for you. You can find most of the recipes in the info box below, and a huge thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. A little bit more on that later. For the first dinner I made some sloppy joes, so for that I had some diced green bell pepper, some diced white onion, diced celery, and then a couple cloves of garlic that I minced up, and then a package of the Beefy Crumbles from Trader Joe's. I like these are high in protein, they're pretty affordable as well. Started out by sauteing all my veggies till they were soft and fragrant, and then I added in my Beefy Crumbles, sauteed those for a little while. Then I added in a can of tomato sauce, some mustard, vegan Worcestershire sauce, onion and garlic powder, and a good amount of freshly ground black pepper. Also drizzled in a little bit of maple syrup. I think a lot of sloppy joe recipes call for ketchup, but since I was just using canned tomato sauce, I wanted to replicate the sweetness of ketchup, so I added in the syrup for that reason, as well as some paprika, and then I added some water just so that it wouldn't stick to the pan while I covered it and simmered it for about 15 to 20 minutes just to meld all the flavors together, soften up all the veggies. Then I uncovered it and just continued to cook it for a couple more minutes to cook off some of the excess liquid. Then I served it on a whole wheat bun with some air fried potato wedges. These I just tossed with some onion and garlic powder and paprika and salt and pepper. And then I also made some coleslaw, just a really simple coleslaw. For the second night, I was really craving something similar to Chinese chicken salad. This is a dish that I used to order all the time at restaurants when I was growing up before I was vegan. So for this, I just got this brand new food processor, so I busted it out and I shredded some green cabbage and some red cabbage. Also shredded up a carrot, a little bit of celery in there as well, and then I chopped up some green onions and some cilantro to add. And I actually prepped a huge batch of the salad mix just so that I could have some leftovers throughout the week. Then for my dressing, I combined some rice vinegar, some soy sauce, a clove of garlic, some toasted sesame oil, a knob of ginger, some brown sugar, a good amount of chili garlic paste, and blended that all together into a super creamy dressing. To add a little bit of crunch to my salad, I toasted some slivered almonds. And then this is something I always used to do just with regular Maruchan ramen before I went vegan, but I would crush up a bag of the noodles. Then I would toast the noodles with a little bit of, I used to use butter, but I just used a little bit of olive oil this time. So I toasted those and then added in just a little bit of the seasoning packet, and this just makes a nice crispy sort of topping for your salad. So to assemble it, I had my veggie mixture, added some toasted sesame seeds, my toasted almonds, my dressing, tossed that all together. I also browned up some of the chicken strips from Gardein, and I added those along with a handful of my crunchy ramen noodles and served that with some fresh avocado. The next dinner is probably my favorite of all the ones that I'm going to show in this video. It's a jackfruit curry. So to start out, I took 2 cans of jackfruit from Trader Joe's and I boiled them for like almost a full hour, I want to say, to soften them up in some beef flavored bouillon. Then I combined some full-fat coconut milk and some yellow curry paste, along with a little bit of water. Added in my drained jackfruit. At this point, it was just super tender and flavorful, really good, and I mashed that up. Had some butternut squash that I had cubed up, along with some green onions, some red and green bell peppers, and then a can of sliced bamboo shoots. I freaking love these. If you haven't tried adding bamboo shoots to your stir fries, they're really good. You can find them at Asian markets. So I stewed everything together and served it with some jasmine rice, garnished it with some green onions, and oh my god, it was so good. It was colorful, flavorful. You have to try it. Have to try something like this, any kind of jackfruit curry. Next dinner, I made some spring rolls. So for these, pretty simple, some romaine lettuce, avocado. I had some tofu, extra firm tofu that I had just glazed with teriyaki sauce, store-bought bottled teriyaki sauce. Then some julienne carrots and cucumbers, and I rolled those up. Then to make a really easy peanut dipping sauce for these, I took some of the leftover dressing from the chicken salad the other night, and I just added a couple tablespoons of peanut butter and some water to thin it out, and it was super delicious. The next night I was struck by this random craving for wonton soup, so I decided to make my own wontons. I sautéed some diced onion, some garlic, some fresh minced ginger, added in some chili paste and sesame oil. I was originally just going to make vegetable wontons, so I had some dried shiitake mushrooms that I soaked and chopped up, but I came across a new product by Morningstar. They now make faux pulled pork. I found it in the frozen section, so I grabbed a bag of that. I chopped it up really fine and added it to my wonton mixture. I also threw in a handful of green onions, and then these are the vegan wonton wrappers I used. I have found it hard in the past to find egg-free wonton wrappers, but I lucked upon these. I found them at Safeway. So I went about stuffing my wontons. I just used a little over a teaspoon, I'd say, per wonton. I've never made wontons before, so I wasn't the best at folding them, but I did my best. And while I was wrapping my wontons, I had this broth simmering in the background with some sliced onions and garlic and some ginger. I used the not beef broth by Better Than Bouillon. Just let that go while I was wrapping my wontons to get all the flavor out of our veggies. And then I tossed in some fresh bok choy, some carrots, a can of straw mushrooms. I really like these. Some sesame oil, some chili paste. And once those veggies had gotten a little bit soft, I added my wontons, and these just took a couple minutes to be ready. Then I ended up just chucking in the rest of the bag of the Morningstar pulled pork. I ended up liking the pulled pork. I would recommend trying it. I think it would be better if it were cooked with some sort of sauce. Like if you're gonna serve it with barbecue sauce on a slider or something, it would be better. But it was okay in this dish as well. The next dish, I make this all the time. I think I've shown this in a couple different videos, but it's a eggplant and tofu parmesan. So for the eggplant, I salt it first and let it sit for maybe 10 minutes and then rinse it. This just makes it a little less bitter. Then I threw together a dredge with some flour, some paprika, salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, and some Italian seasoning. Also threw in some nooch since we're not using Parmesan cheese. This sort of gives a savory flavor. Dredged my eggplant and my tofu in the mixture, and then I just shook off the excess. And from there, I dunk each piece into just some plain unsweetened soy milk. And finally into some panko crumbs. This time around I bought the Italian seasoned panko crumbs. And when you're buying breadcrumbs, I always recommend just double checking the ingredients list. Sometimes breadcrumbs contain milk ingredients. So I laid out all my breaded tofu and eggplant on a baking tray with a silicone baking mat. I gave it a spritz with oil just to help it brown up nicely, and then I baked it, and then during the last couple minutes I took it out, added some cheddar, Daya shreds. Mozzarella would have been better, more thematically appropriate if you will, but I didn't happen to have any on hand. Then I just topped it with some marinara sauce that I had warmed up. I served it with a salad, and I drizzled on some of the Follow Your Heart ranch, which is so good. Now the last dish I'm sharing are these cilantro peanut pesto noodles. For these I used some raw peanuts. Next time I'd probably use toasted, whole bunch of cilantro, juiced lime, a little bit of toasted sesame oil, of course more chili garlic paste, a little bit of ginger, and some soy sauce. And then I just blended that all together. To add some extra protein and bulk up the dish, I used a package of the West Soy seitan chunks, and then some red bell pepper and some green onion, and I had boiled some brown rice pad thai noodles and drained those and set those aside. So I threw those in when my bell peppers were getting a little bit soft, and then added in some of my pesto. And since I didn't use a lot of liquid or oil in my pesto, I did add some water to thin it out and help it coat the noodles, and then at the last minute I remembered I had some frozen edamame, so I threw that in. So this was a super refreshing dish, and you can eat it warm or chilled. I had the leftovers chilled the next day, and they were really good. And that is a week's worth of dinners in my life. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully it gives you some new ideas to add into your dinner rotation. And of course, thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Squarespace is the amazing all-in-one website design platform that I use to create my recipe blog, sarahsvegankitchen.com. What I love most about Squarespace is that it's incredibly easy to learn and use, so you can start creating right away. And it also has a huge library of beautiful, modern designer templates. It's highly customizable, and they also offer awesome 24-hour support. So whether you're in need of your own domain, website, or online store, Squarespace has you covered, and you can head to squarespace.com/sarahsvegankitchen to start your free trial and get 10% off your first purchase. Thanks for watching.